Hey, I'm here with Show and Tell. I'm here today with Josh Herchl with Advanced Drainage Systems, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening in the industry. So, Josh, tell me, what are you seeing? What kind of trends are you seeing? What's happening in the industry from your perspective?
Kristen, thanks for having me here today. We're seeing some crazy switches in the industry. For anybody that's been in the airport industry, they've seen things get pretty roller coastery over the last 24 months, maybe 36 months. The greatest thing coming out of those 36 months is truly the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act, or the bipartisan infrastructure law, whichever terminology you'd like to use on that. But that's $1.2 trillion over the next 5 years that goes into our nation's infrastructure. ASCE has done an incredible job over the last decade talking about grading our infrastructure. And then our federal government has done something for us to be able to give us an opportunity to spend some money to improve that infrastructure.
For those who don't know, explain what ASCE is.
American Society of Civil Engineers.
Awesome. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
If you were to Google ASCE, your state name, and infrastructure grade, you would get a great report identifying all the different sectors within your state, from transportation, aviation, transit, environmental, all different other components too. ASCE might chastise me for butchering some of those things, but they've done a great job for all 50 U.S. states.
Okay, excellent. What do you think we can do to leverage those record numbers? What do you think will affect those numbers?
So I think that there's two main components that we're really challenged with today. Neither of them should be any surprise. We've got supply chain issues that are getting better. And we've got inflation that's compounding things. You know, we have $1.2 trillion, and out of that money for FAA is getting $25 billion over the next 5 years. Currently, they've already allocated $2 of those $1 billion through grants and other measures. Inflation's going to take a chunk out of that. If we were spending $1 million on a project, we're getting 20 to 40% less work out of that project now.
A little good news, bad news there.
There's a little good news, bad news. The good news is we've got the funding. The bad news is how do we be effective in leveraging that? Supply chain issues haven't helped. That crosses all segments of our business, right? It can be from concrete and aggregate to steel for building materials, roofing supplies, and in ADS's case, raw materials for storm sewer use. We utilize polypropylene and polyethylene. Those supply chain constraints have improved dramatically, but we still have the rest of the supply chain that's causing some issues. Labor costs are up significantly, labor availability is up significantly, trucking is still very expensive, and all of that gets passed on, unfortunately, to the consumer, right? We've taken a hit as a company, the rest of the industry has as well. So overcoming inflation and overcoming supply chain issues is really the challenge, not just for the airports, but for the design engineers and planners that are doing this work.
So let's get granular. What is ADS doing that can help with some of these issues?
Well, if I go back to the beginning of our conversation, ASCE has graded this infrastructure, and they've challenged the industry to be more resilient. They've challenged the industry to be more resilient in terms of how long projects last, the type of materials that they use in those projects, the way things are designed. Being resilient can also mean being different, right? Doing things in a different way in order to get that infrastructure to last longer than we want or have experienced it in the past. ADS offers some solutions in many of those realms. We offer some materials that are resilient and have a 100-year design service life. We offer some methodologies to civil engineers and planners in airports for stormwater management practices. We offer a lot of tools. We have over 350 people in the field that build relationships and work as a consultant to these agencies. We've got 65 plants in the US and Canada. Our material availability is strong today, so from a supply chain standpoint on the material side, we're in a good spot. We still are competing with trucking and some other things that are compounding that. One of the greatest values that we have is a tool we use called the Pipe Value Tool. It's a cost calculator that really encompasses the entire realm of the project. So not just material costs, but installed costs, shipping costs, logistics on site, the number of trucks that are entering your job site, the length of the materials, in our case storm sewer, is longer, bigger, it installs quicker and faster and utilizes less manpower and equipment. So while we're compounded with inflation and supply chain issues, we offer solutions to contractors, engineers, and owners to be able to combat that.
Right, and this is an under the surface kind of thing about airports that people might not think of first, but it's so important.
It is.
So,
They only think of our storm sewer during the design and when it's going in the ground or when there's water above ground, right?
right.
And our goal is to help all the airports and engineers to ensure that they can manage that stormwater. Water's our most precious resource, and at ADS we do everything we can to overcome that.
Very impressive. Thank you so much for sharing it with me.
Thanks,
This
Kristen.
has been Show and Tell here on the show floor for the ACC Symposium. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.